All right, y'all. Welcome to the very first episode of the Reality Girl podcast. This is your host, Kiana Dixon, and welcome. I am so happy to have you guys here. Today, I just felt the spirit telling me to tell you my story, and I'm going to try not to make this like super duper long because the goal wasn't to have the podcast be too long. I'm not going to edit super much because I want it to be as raw as possible. And I just want you guys to really get to know me. I am turning 25. I am newly married and I am also newly reborn as a Christian. This has been a type of journey that I don't think anyone or anything could have really prepared me for. You're talking to a girl that loved paganism for a good amount of years, that really renounced Christianity for everything that it was to me at that point. I also didn't really grow up in like a super duper Christian household. So to have to go back and like when my mom did decide to like start taking us to church, and by that time I was like already like teenager status, I was really fighting against what was being taught to me in a sense that like I didn't see how it applied because every point in my life up until that point it was just like so much trauma. Like how is what like these preachers are telling me matching what I'm going through? And that was a really hard concept for me to the point that like it just I didn't feel like it connected to me in any way. And I'm not gonna lie to you, my mom kept throwing this one statement out to me a while back, which was just give it to God. And I'm like, that's the worst thing you can say to a teenage girl that is one, oldest sibling syndrome, oldest daughter syndrome, like crazy. I am super independent. I am super like have to be in control of the situation. Like you cannot tell me to just give it to God. That is like the wrong thing to tell me at any point during that time period. And also like it didn't feel like it was working. Like I didn't understand what it meant to really let go and let God. And that bothered me in so many ways. So from there, I, of course, like anyone in today's day and age, like the trauma just kept piling itself on. And it was nonstop. And I was looking for some type of relief in some way, shape, or form. And that's really where the paganism came into play. Because I felt like I was looking for some spirituality that wasn't Christian. And I wasn't like really the type of person to like step into like Muslim territory. So paganism it was. And I did a bunch of like learning about moon cycles and witchcraft and crystals. And it just I felt like it worked at some points and then others I did not feel like it worked at all. And it was a little disheartening, but I kept putting time and effort into it. But it just wasn't something that I fully stuck with like consistently every single day. Um And in the mix of all that and throughout all of like the emotional trauma, financial trauma like kept happening. And of course we have the pandemic, which fine. That was like the peak of just downfall for a lot of people. And like a lot of people made that like I'm gonna start a business and get bread. And like they actually did it and like yay for them. Great. I am proud. But for me and my household, that was not the case. That was like like the start of our downfall. And I'm not gonna go too much into this story because like this is my husband's story, not mine. But his grandmother died due to complications that had COVID involved, but not like fully. And then like that was like really starting to like knock down on us. And then, like 6 months later, my grandfather died, and I went into the most depressive state of my life. Like, you were not calling me, you were not really texting me. I was barely getting out of bed to function just to go to work and come home. And that was probably the hardest time to be able to like try and grieve my grandfather's death because like he meant so much to me. And I was also trying to be like the most strong because I had to be strong for my mom because that's her dad and she's the firstborn. And oldest daughter syndrome just passed down just passed down the line. Like, excuse me, guys, for like about to talk out of term, but like just passed down. Like oldest daughter syndrome from one daughter to the other. And it just like kept going. From there, like it was so hard to like just keep walking. And it just felt like I had to keep walking and keep walking. And then I had a humongous falling out with my ex best friend. I'm not going to go too much into that, just because there are some things that I am going to keep private as much as I'm going to keep it real on here. I am not going to like overshare. There are um there are lines, but I had a humongous falling out with her, and that happened like not even like 4 months after my grandfather passed. And that was also like a really, really hard moment for me because dang, like I lost one of the most important people in my life being one of my most important parental figures, and then I lost my best friend of 5 years. And that girl was like my sister. She was my twin. We did everything together. We had like matching hairstyles. We had the same favorite like movie sequence. Like we finished each other's sentences almost every day. Not having her near me, not talking to her each day, like, killed me, and it felt like I had legitimately experienced another death in my life. So, from there, fast forward, me and my husband move, we're still, like, boyfriend, girlfriend at the time. We get COVID. Yeah, not it. It was not it, but it threw us into a financial downfall. We experienced our very first eviction. And from there, like, we took a break on our relationship because we were like, we not sure if this is it. We decided at that moment, I decided to go back to school because I had paused on school after my grandfather passed. I and keep in mind through all this, like I am still like living my life as sin, still super like on and off sexually deviant. And keep in mind, like I was with my boyfriend since like we were 15 and 16, so we obviously did not wait till marriage because we are both newly saved. So still actively living that life, still actively in paganism, still actively like cussing like super duper heavy. I'm still having like I'm still working through that one. I'm slowing down, but it's still a process. Yeah. And there's still like so much going on, and but I decided to go back to school. I'm sleeping on my parents' couch and I'm deciding I need to do something. So I re-enroll in school and I get a job on campus, and so far like things are slowly looking up. Things are slowly moving back where they're supposed to be. And I'm like, okay, this is like making sense again. So one thing about my mom and my ex stepfather's household is toxicity like crazy. I am talking constant arguments, constant screaming, constant yelling. And there was just like this really big blowout fight between me and my brother, and my mom against my ex stepfather. And it was just like so much, and I was like I told myself I can't do this again. Like that's the reason why I moved out the first time, because like I cannot do this specific situation all over again. So I moved out again. I took the step and was like, I gotta go, gotta get out. At the time, I'm working two jobs and I am in school full time still. Trust me, that situation did not last long because like the stress levels, and I was not emotionally prepared. I was not as emotionally prepared as I thought I was going to be, and as I thought I had the personal strength to get me through. So there goes that, and like for a while, I'm in school, two jobs, still living in like my own like apartment with like three roommates. We each have our own bedroom, but like still. And I am out at the clubs every Thursday. I am drinking pretty decently. Just it felt fun in the moment, but I looking back on it, I know I was running from something. I don't still fully understand what I was running from. Still going through that, but I was running from something. But I give it like another 6 or so months. I end up moving back in with my now husband. I end up moving back in with my now husband, and we're going through the process because he had left his one job and they did him dirty. After he put in his notice, they just let him go on the spot. And that was like two more checks that like we were relying on that he did not get. And at the time, like I'm not making enough and he's not making enough at his other job to sustain, and we are like constantly behind on rent. And it's still like a fight. And we're just like fighting every single day about the financial situation. We're fighting each other, we're fighting the situation, we're depressed. We are going through the one of the absolute most hardest times of our lives. And keep in mind, we've been going through it since 2020. So it's just felt like 4 continuous years of slam down, slam down, slam down, slam down, nonstop fighting against whatever spirit is latched on to us and our situation and our like relationship. We are like fighting against the grain. So we're going through that. And I took this step, put myself back in therapy, put myself back with a psychiatrist, got myself back on my meds to like get this running because it was not running. The depression was kicking in. If I wasn't at work, your girl was sleeping. Those were like my two things. Like I did not like, I wanted to be productive. Like I had a great plan on how to be productive, but it wasn't working and my body was not clicking. So your girl got her stuff back on. I went back to go see the doctor's time. I got diagnosed with PCOS, which it also helped explain like my energy levels and my constant fluctuation in weight, and it was just a lot. So in that time, I was able to convince my husband, now husband at the time, to possibly try seeking therapy on his end because like his emotional state's no better than mine at the moment. So we're both going through it. And he actually took my advice. He went and saw saw therapy for himself. And one day he had messaged me and I was just at home. I was chilling, and pretty much like sums up to the statement at the very bottom of this message. And he was like, I think I need theology or I need church and therapy. And I had to sit with that for like 5 or so minutes because all I'm thinking about that moment was like all these years that I had renounced Christianity, that I had like pretty much threw it to the wayside. Like it wasn't for me. Whoever it was for, great for them, but like not my cup of tea. I really does don't I really wasn't messing with like the religion aspect of Christianity. I kind of understood the spiritual part, but like the religion aspect and like the church in total just wasn't, it wasn't fitting what I felt like I needed. So like I was just like, no, for like so many years. And when he had said that, I had to like sit back and think and just be like, we need something. I don't know what it is. And at this point, I am willing to try anything. So I told him, I was like, I'll do it with you. I'll take this step with you. And that was a big moment for me because for someone to that renounced it for so long, that moved into paganism, like, hey, my witchy self, and then was like, no, my husband came to me with this specific worry. He says he needs this as his partner for life. I am willing to take this step and doing it with him. And I'm a type of person that when I get in it, I get in it. Like I am, I'm all the way in. You are not going to like see me like half do it. At least not in the beginning. My ADD, like once my brain gets bored, then like all right, then I move on to the next thing. But especially in the very beginning, like once I'm in, I'm in. So I start looking up things to watch, and he's suggesting like I want to. He said I was probably going to do this on my own, but like I'm gonna watch like sermons on my own. I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm gonna like do my own research and stuff like that. So I start watching. My personal favorite pastor so far is Sarah Jakes Roberts. Girl, Get Up was like my first one, and I bawled my eyes out. I felt that in my deepest part of my soul. Like you were not going to see me any more emotional than what I was in that moment. And I was like, all right, I'm feeling this. So I give myself time to really sit with what the word was in that sermon. And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna keep taking steps. I'm gonna keep walking this. Next day, watch another sermon. Bawled my eyes out for that one too. And it was just like 3 or 4 days of just revelation after revelation after revelation of just completely like tearing apart all the walls around my heart that I had built up, especially when it came to Christianity. And that was like the really big turning point for me. And according to my husband, he had a lot of the same like revelations on his own. So we just had an overall talk and an overall deep, really, really deep conversation about the situation and how we were feeling and what we felt like the next steps were. And we said, like, we want to continue with this. So, and I'm not gonna lie, in this like long, sorry, in this very long story about what my story has been, the one thing I'm not gonna tell you is like a prophet or I am this like girl that knows the Bible front and back, like pulling out scriptures. I might later on once I like study more because like I'm still very new. But like right now, I am like new. Like I'm talking less than like 2 months level new. And the reason why I decided to create Reality Girl is because I know that when looking into stepping into Christianity and looking into a journey as deep as this one, that finding people online that are at the very beginning of their journey is just not something you see, especially like at the very beginning with no real like religious background. Like you see like very beginning, but like they diverted, but they were a preacher's kid earlier in their life, so like they still know that's not what's going on here. I am literally at ground zero. So I wanted to be at ground zero and to let others know that like you're not at ground zero by yourself if you're at ground zero too. Or if you were even below ground zero and you're still lost and you're still searching for something, like you are not going through it alone. And to spend years going through it and to walk into something that just really opened. my eyes and my husband's, and like it's been like less than 2 months, and financials are looking up. We both got like a second job to like really boost our situation. We are looking to move. We're both back in school. I could not imagine getting to this point without the help of God. And that's just like all the physicality stuff. That's not even like the emotional or the mental peace that we have found in like our marriage and our individuality. Like speaking for myself, I have never actually known peace. Like my entire life. Like at all. I did not understand really what the concept of it was. Like I understand what the word meant, but to feel it in my own personal life just was non-existent to me. Like it was like over the head, something that just didn't fully click. So when me and my husband had a really big argument one night, and I asked him what he wanted for his future, and he said peace, and I wasn't comprehending what that meant really. Like I was just thinking like you're not going to give me a breakdown of like what you want for your life, like what your job look like, what your like day to day looks like. Like no, he just said he wants peace. I'm like I don't know what that means. Like truly. And it wasn't until after taking the walk back with God that I was able to really start feeling what peace felt like. And I'm not saying like I have full peace because like life is still life in, but I have peace in a sense that like I have his peace. I am able to trust him and trust his plan with what my life is supposed to be, and put it into the perspective that like peace does not come from me. It comes from him. Peace does not come from things. It does not come from financials. It does not come from success. It does not come from jobs. It does not come from education. It comes from him. And it felt so good to finally get to that point where I'm like, this is not reliant on me. Like my entire life, like everything has been reliant on me. And I've known that like for the longest, my success or my failure was 100% my fault. And that level of stress just like kept, and to know that like now like that's not the case. It's not. Giving it over to him has been such a revelation. Giving all the stress, all the anxiety, all the fear, all of the doubt, all of the self deprivation over to him has been something that I can't walk back from. I can't. And this entire podcast is going to be built off of what walking this journey is, and day-to-day struggles and day-to-day life and the feelings I'm going through, and what I'm learning through scripture, what I'm learning through Bible study, what I'm learning through sermons. Like I am not going to hold anything back in this journey, and I'm not going to hold anything back in sharing this journey with you. And I pray that for anyone that is out there that is either going through the same journey or that is unsure of wanting to step into this journey, that you not only take this story and you feel something from it, but you look at it as I'm not alone, because you're not. And it took a while to realize I'm not alone either. So I think this is where I'm going to end the very first episode of the Reality Girl podcast. And I pray for your discernment. I pray for grace for you in whatever situation you are going through. I pray for you to just take that step, Fibs. Take it. Be that girl. Take a step outside of whatever the norm is for what your situation is. You don't have to be that person anymore. You can be someone completely new. And God has put me in the position to be able to share with you how he's made me new in heart, mind, soul, body, spirit. You have that ability. And this is your chance. Every day is a new day. There is never a time where it's too late. So, again, I pray for your forgiveness. I pray for your strength. I pray that you feel his strength and his grace and his love, because it is something that of revelation in and of itself. So, I hope you have a great day. And thank you for listening to the very first episode of the Reality Girl podcast. And I will get better at this, I promise, but practice makes perfect. And I will see you guys next week. Bye.